Torah Guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yasharal and Yahuda grafted in Gentiles into the body of Hamashiach. We have been purchased, our Yeshua, by none other than the blood of the King. The song that we're listening to is Hezekiah. The song is entitled The Blood of the King, and I don't own the rights to this music. Listen. Without the shedding of blood, there's no remission, there's no forgiveness of sins. Yahusha became the Lamb. Yahukanan said, behold, the Lamb of Yahuwah that taketh away the sins of the world. There's no other way that man could receive Yeshua except he receives the blood of Yahusha Mashiach. Yahusha himself said, you must be born again. You must experience a rebirth. This rebirth must come in the form of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh. You got to be baptized. And you got to receive the Ruach HaKodesh. You have to receive the Ruach HaKodesh. He established you in this kingdom. Yahuwah, in the name of Yahusha Mashiach, I give you praise for your word, your Besorah, your Torah of truth. I pray right now in the name of Yahusha Mashiach that you would take the reins of my lips, the reins of my tongue and reign. I pray, Yahuwah, that no one would be turned out of the way. No one would come up lame. I would cause no one to stumble. Yahuwah, I pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, by the Ruach HaKodesh, your word will go forth and make alive those who receive it. You said, for as many as received Yahusha, them you gave power to be the sons of Elohiym. I pray that this word would bring life to those, peace to those, medicine to all their flesh. This word, this Besorah, this Torah that you gave to Yahusha, that he gave to Yahukanan, that he recorded for me, which I received in Emunah and walked it out, and have received the Ruach HaKodesh in obedience to what you have said. Now, Yahuwah, you have called me to tell your people about receiving the witness, how they must receive the witness. They must receive the Ruach HaKodesh. They must receive the water. They must receive the blood of Yahusha in order to be established. Yahuwah, I pray right now in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach that they will receive this witness. I pray, Yahuwah, that they will be quickened, that they would be made alive in this witness, Yahuwah. I pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach that they would answer the call. They would come in line with the witness, and that they would themselves be witnesses of Yahusha HaMashiach. Yahuwah, I give you praise. I pray that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. Again, we were listening to Hezekiah. The song is entitled The Blood of the King. The blood of the king, right? Yahusha is that king after the order of Melchizedek. He is that priest. For Melchizedek was king and priest, right? Yahusha is king and priest. Yahuwah has sworn and will not repent that Yahusha is a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And you understand that Melchizedek was the king of Salem, of Shalom, of Jerusalem, of peace, right? And he was the high priest of Elohiym. Yahusha is that high priest. Yahusha is Melchizedek. He is that king and priest. Yaakov had declared unto Yehuda that the scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, or a lawgiver from between his feet, unto Shiloh, tranquility, to peace, to Shalom, Shabbat comes, right? That 7-day rest, right? And unto him will be the gathering of the people. Yes, Yahusha is the king. He is a king who was offered up. His body was sacrificed. Yahukanan said, behold, the Lamb of Elohiym that comes, that taketh away the sins of the world. Yahusha is that Lamb. Yahusha is that Lamb and that high priest. Yahusha is the only one qualified to go before Yahuwah with an offering, his own blood, into the Shamayim, into the tabernacle that was not pitched by man. Yeah, the tabernacle and the Shamayim. Yahusha himself is the only one that was qualified to go into the holies of holies, where Yahuwah met him as he sprinkled his blood. Listen, it's the blood of the king. the blood of Yahusha HaMashiach, and you must receive the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. And again, it's not Christianity, it's not this Jesus, and it's not the Lord, and it's not God. Now understand this. They have taken our Basura, and they have taken our Torah, and they have established this Christianity, this religion that has went into the four corners of the earth. But this which we are a part of is not that, right? Yes, that's our Basura. That's our Torah. But what Yahuwah has done and Yahusha has done in us is not that. It's not that. It's not that. And I know that's hard for some people to receive and understand, but it's not that. You know, listen, the people that uphold that will not allow the revelation of who you are to be made manifest in that. They won't acknowledge you as the children of Yahuwah. This ain't that. This ain't that. This ain't that. They know that you are the people of the book, but they're not going to acknowledge that because this ain't that. They still want to worship and serve their Jesus. Their El, their God, right? But this ain't that. No, what Yahusha has called us to is not that. And again, Yahusha has called his people to turn. If my people which are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn, right? In order to turn, you have to turn to faith in Hamashiach as the high priest, right? Who has the sacrifice that can offer it, right? That's the only method to return. You can't return as a Hebrew to your Hebrew culture without the correction for sin. You have to serve before you can do anything. You have to deal with the sin issue. Sin issue is the root of everything. You got to deal with the sin issue, right? The sin consciousness issue, and only through Yahushua Mashiach can you overcome the sin consciousness issue. So listen, it's the blood of the King. It's the blood of the King. It's Yahushua HaMashiach, the witness. And you know what? It's in the Basura. It's in the renewed covenant. And it's in the Torah. It's in the original covenant. It's our history. It's our heritage. It's Yahuwah making his will known to us, right? In the Torah and through the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach in the Basura of truth. The Word made flesh. Yahusha, he chose to go for us in order to reestablish Yahuwah's kingdom in the eretz. He chose to be the sacrifice for us in order for us to be reintroduced into the family of Yahuwah, to be that people that are called by his name. Yahusha made that all possible. Without Yahusha, that would never be possible. We couldn't have experienced what we experience now in the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. Yeah, because we've received the witness of Yahusha. We've received the water. We've received the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood. We have received Yahuwah's Ruach HaKodesh as we have asked and received it. This Ruach HaKodesh establishes us in the kingdom of Yahuwah. This is Yahuwah's earnest. This is the down payment until the purchased possession, until he gathers us. He gathers us and restores us to our place in serving in the kingdom of Yahuwah. Listen, it's the blood of the King. It's the blood of the King. You got to receive this witness, bro. It's the blood of the King. You got to endure this witness until the end. It's the blood of the King. And listen, if you don't, Yahuwah's wrath is going to be revealed to you, because the Torah and the commandments were given to you first. Listen, the Gentiles are going to experience the wrath, right? The heathen are going to experience the wrath. But the wrath you're going to experience first, because you received the Torah. You received the Torah as a people of Yahuwah. Judgment must first begin with you, his established people. You have a covenant. Your forefathers have a covenant. They have a Torah. They have a Basura. They have a covenant. They have a history. This book is about you. This Basura is about you. This Torah is about you. And if you don't receive the witness of Yahushua, his wrath is stored up for you. And you know, it'd be a shame, right? It's a shame to have endured what our ancestors have endured, only to refuse to receive the witness of Yahusha Mashiach and die and go to hell. To gain the knowledge of being Yahuwah's people and not turning to him through faith in Yahusha HaMashiach, but suffering the fate of the heathens. Shame. We're in Romans. Paul's letter to the assemblies in Rome, right? Now, the assemblies in Rome made up probably largely of Gentiles, Greeks. Excuse me. Though you probably had some Grecians. Those that were Hebrews that spoke Greek. Right? Those that took on the Hellenized, that were Hellenized, that took on the culture and identity of the Romans and the Greeks. Right? Established citizens of Rome. You know? Paul's writing a letter to the church in Rome. The church of Rome was to those who were Romans. Paul was a Roman. Paul was a citizen of Rome. He was a citizen of Rome, right? He was a citizen of Rome. His citizenship was in Rome. He was Yahudiy, Hebrew, but he was born in the province of Rome. He was a Roman citizen. Appealed to Caesar because the Jews wanted to kill him. He appealed to Caesar because Yahudiy wanted to kill him. He had to go to Caesar because he was a citizen. He couldn't do anything to a citizen. Paul was writing to the letters to the assemblies in Rome. There were citizens that were Hebrew or not Hebrew. Right? And the Grecians, Hellenized Jews that were there, most of which, when Paul sent a letter to the Hebrews, he sent it to the synagogues of the churches, the assemblies that were of the Hebrew culture, who understood the Torah. Right? But he also wrote to the people in Rome, assemblies in Rome, that were probably made up of both, right? And in this letter, Paul expresses and expounds on those things that are going to cause you to experience the wrath of Yahuwah. Paul opens up the first chapter and he goes in and he said, "Listen, I know it's culturally acceptable in Rome, you know that whole saying, well, in Rome do as the Romans do." No, because in Rome they were fornicators. Yeah, in Rome they operated with vile affections. Yeah, in Rome, they participated in sexual sins, orgies, this whole fornication, pornonia, lesbian homosexuality, sex with animals, all of this pornonia. Right? They did that unclean thing. They were unclean. They were wise, because they were wise. They were intelligent. Right? Even though they didn't retain Yahuwah in their knowledge. They didn't retain the Yahuwah in their knowledge, but they became vain in their own thinking, in their imagination. They professed themselves to be wise, but really, in fact, they were fools. Right? Rome. Yeah, they're Romans. They had men that dressed up as women that dressed up as men. They did it all. Right? So we don't do as the Romans do. In Rome, we Hebrews, right? In Babylon, we're Hebrew. In Egypt, we're Hebrew, but we're Hebrews that are quickened, not just awakened. but quickened, because see, you have to turn first in order to be quickened, right? You have to have your sins forgiven. You have to have a sacrifice. You have to have a high priest. He has to go into the holies of holies, and Yahuwah has to be there to meet him to receive his offering. Listen. We are quickened Hebrews. We don't do as Rome do. But, Paul had to deal with making some clarifying statements in reference to acceptable conduct, right? Because, the Gentiles, they didn't have a law of Torah, right? They didn't have a law of Torah, but when they received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach, right, and their consciousness was cleansed from sin, right, and then they became established in the Torah, by virtue of their nature being changed, having received the Ruach HaKodesh, having, by example now, conducted themselves in a way in which resembles those who kept Torah, never having Torah. Yeah, they conducted themselves almost, like the Yahudiy, but the Yahudiy had the law. They had the Torah, and judgment is going to be great for them because, they had the Torah. Right, they had the Torah. They had the Torah. That's why Yahuwah said, listen. That's why he says in Ezekiel 36, he says, I will sanctify my great name, which was profaned amongst the heathen, which ye, Hebrews, profaned in the midst of them. You see, you profaned it. Profaning the name of Yahuwah before them. Yeah. And they profaned the name of Yahuwah too, but you had the Torah. You had the guide. You had the practical knowledge of what the code of conduct should have been, but you also became vain in your imagination. Yeah, you kind of thought that what the Gentiles were doing was better than what you had. Yeah. So you was convinced that the Gentiles, right? They had something better than what you had, right? Yeah, you was convinced of that, And the interesting thing is that Yahuwah told he told Moshe the same thing. He said, listen, Moshe, behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, Deuteronomy 31:16. And this people will rise up and go a-whoring after the elves of the strangers of the land, and they will go and be among them and will forsake me and break my agreement, my contract, my covenant that I made with them to be their Elu, and they would be my people, that I would bless them and the city and the field and the fruit of their body and the fruit of their ground and the cattle, increase of that kind of flocks of that sheep. I will bless you going out and going in. Your enemy shall rise up against thee one way and flee before thee seven ways. You know it. Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 15. Yeah. They broke the contract. They broke the agreement. They became vain in their way of thinking. Right? He said, they will break the covenant which I made with them, and my anger will be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them. So that they will say in that day, our day, when we woke up, right? Are not these evil come upon us because our Elohiym is not among us? And I will surely hide my face in that day, for all the evils which they shall have wrought, and they shall turn to other Elohim. That's what our ancestors, that's what our fathers did. Yahuwah has wakened us up through the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach and this renewed covenant that he established after this order of Melchizedek priesthood that requires you to come through him. Right? But, you profaned his name amongst the heathen. You did it first. Right? You did it first. And Yahuwah is rich in mercy. Right? When we were yet sinners, he allowed Yahusha Mashiach to restore us, to give us life, give us the witness. He said, Scripture says, you have he quickened, made us alive. Who were dead, made us alive in Yahusha Mashiach's witness, putting in us the Ruach HaKodesh. Right? Now, but the wicked, you who don't receive the witness of Yahusha Mashiach, will be judged. His wrath is going to be revealed on you because of your vanity of mind, because of your self-talk, because of communicating an idea in your own self that brings approval to your evil, wicked decisions you make. You made it acceptable to have vile affections or be judged. You made it acceptable to practice fornication. Right? Pornography. You made it acceptable. Right? Again, G 4202. Strong's Hebrew Lexicon. Blue Letter Bible. That Hebrew word is
Strong's G 4202. Parnaya.
Pornaya.
Parnaya.
Pornaya. It's P-O-R-N. Porn. Ia. Right? It is adultery. Right? Actually, it's any illicit sexual intercourse. Any illicit sexual intercourse. Matter of fact, let's see this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I know it's several words, but I'm going to do this. What is... Let's see if we can get some understanding. What is illicit sexual intercourse? Let's just see what we come up with. What is illicit sexual intercourse, right? Or what is illicit sex, right? Let's see what we get, right? Right? Miller Law Group, right? PLLC. In North Carolina, its illicit sexual behavior is defined as the act of sex or deviant intercourse, deviant sexual acts, or sexual acts as defined by North Carolina General Statute. All right, this is North Carolina. It's a sexual act which constitutes sexually illicit behavior, including the following, right? Cunnilingus, fellatio, anagalius, ANALINGIUS, right? Anal intercourse. The penetration, however slight, by any object or genitalia or anal openings of another's body. It's illicit. Right? Okay. Now. Okay. Let's look at something else. What is illicit sexual intercourse? right? What is illicit sexual intercourse? Illicit sexual behavior for the purpose of this section. It means the act of sexual or deviant sexual intercourse, deviant sexual sex, or sexual acts, right? Now, this right here, I don't know, this is a website, it's called Diatip, whatever that is. But, you get the picture, right? So, allowing your mind to accept the idea, because you would not retain Yahuwah in your knowledge. You would not adhere to the truth. You didn't accept the truth that Yahuwah has established that a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, his woman, right? And those two shall become one flesh, because that's the natural law of things, right? Right? You defied nature. Right? You deviated from nature. Yeah, you see, some of y'all ain't gonna like this, but this is law. This is documented law. I mean, that the one is Georgia statute, right? Remember a time that pornography was considered deviant. Now it's acceptable. Right? Pornography, right? Porno magazines, porno movies. It used to be deviant, right? They've made it possible for you don't even have to go and buy it. You don't even have to buy it, no. Because the objective is to get you into your self-talk. Make you believe that this is acceptable behavior, right? Well, according to some state statutes, it's still considered deviant. It's a violation of law. It's a violation of Torah. It's a violation of the Torah. Man should not sleep with man as he sleeps with woman. That's a violation of Torah, right? But you know, in Christianity, they want you to believe that the Torah is done away with. The Torah ain't except it's all love and grace, and Yahuwah's favoring and forgiving, and you can do as much sin as you want, and as long as you repent, Yahuwah will forgive you. Believe that lie if you want to. Yahusha said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments as I've kept the Father's commandments. And then your Father's commandments. Oh, yeah, what just has me here? Just here. Yeah, you experiencing an error. I bet you are. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Let's see what I want. Let me see. That's not. Let's see. Maybe this is. Okay. That's not what I want. Okay. I spent enough time there. There's laws that are governed relationships, appropriate and inappropriate. Those that are sanctioned and those that are considered deviant. Paul is addressing this in the assemblies of the Romans. Again, you're talking about a culture and a people that did not have a Torah. They didn't have the laws that governed relationships between men and women. They didn't have, like we had. Yahuwah had established a people, Yaakov. And this people were to be his example, his kingdom in the earth. They were to put the kibosh down. Yeah, you know, Dawid put the kibosh down and subdued all his enemies. Right? But there was the sin consciousness thing that just could not escape the nation. The only way it was going to be is dealt with is through Yahusha and his witness. And those who won't receive the witness is going to suffer his wrath. So, we left off in Romans, the 2nd chapter, the 17th verse. Right? But in the initial few verses, Shaul clarifies, right, the idea that the Gentiles who did not have a Torah, who received the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, that had their hearts sanctified and cleansed, are established, sanctified, and set apart, having received the witness without ever having received the Torah. Right? They have come over with no history of a Torah and the commandments that govern behavior, because in their vain thinking, they made it acceptable for this behavior, this illicit, deviant, because it's a deviation. It's not my words, it's the words of the Miller Law Group, right? It's a deviation from what's natural. Behavior that is deviated from what's natural. It's intercourse that's deviated from what's natural. It's the idea that you become a man and a woman without natural affections. Because of your self-talk. You deviated. Verse 17, he says, now, behold, thou art called Yahudiy, and rest in the Torah, right? He says, you rest in the
Strong's G, 1879, upon a palmai. Thayer's Lexicon, upon a pao.
Right? It means to cause to rest upon anything, to rest upon it, to settle upon, fix it, abode on. So now you notice it's a letter to Rome, right? Well, Paul is also addressing Hebrews. Right? He said, behold, thou art called a Jew. Right? And you rest, you settle on Torah. Right? And maketh thy boast in Torah. So, you Jews that are in Rome, you make your boast in Torah. Right? You settle in Torah. See, but these Gentiles, they didn't have a Torah, but they still have received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach and are established in this witness and their fame. Right? Because he says in that first chapter, he says, Paul, an apostle of Yahusha Mashiach, called to be an apostle, separated unto Yahudiy, right? To the Basora of Yahudiy, which he has promised afore by the prophets in the Holy Scriptures concerning the Son of Yahusha HaMashiach, our Lua, which is made after the seed of David, He says, receiving grace and a prophecy. He says, to all that be in Rome, right? Jew and Gentile, beloved of Elua, called to be saints, right? Grace to you and peace from Elua, our Father, and Elua, Yahusha Mashiach. First, I want to thank Yahuwah through Yahusha Mashiach for you all, for your emunah. It's spoken of throughout the whole world. He says, Elua is my witness, whom I serve in the Ruach HaKodesh, in the Basora of his Son, that without ceasing I make mention of you always in my prayers. So he says, Yahusha's witnesses by the Ruach HaKodesh concerning your faith, right? So, Shaul was dealing with Gentiles and in Hebrews, quite possibly Grecians, right? Hebrew converts and Greek Romans, right? Yahudim, that hold to the Torah, that make their boast in Yahuwah and his word, right? He says, and knoweth his will, and approveth the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the Torah. So you have instruction from Torah. you have Yahuwah's Torah, and you make your boast in it, right? He says, you knoweth the will, and approve the things that are more excellent, and you approve the things that are more excellent, right? That word approveth is
Strong's G 1381, dokimazo.
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 Dokimazo. It is to test, to examine, to prove, to scrutinize. You scrutinize the Torah, right? You recognize as genuine after examination, to approve, to deem worthy, right? To test, to examine, to prove, to scrutinize. You scrutinize, right? You approve the things that are more excellent, right? Being instructed out of Torah, because you have your instruction out of Torah, right? And are confident that thou thyself are a guide to the blind, right? You're confident because you know Torah. You can guide the blind, those who aren't instructed in Torah, those who have not received the witness, or even those who have received the witness but yet don't know anything, right? Right? You're confident that thou thyself art a guide to the blind, right? A light of them which are in darkness, right? Brews. You have received the witness, you who have Torah, right? An instructor to the foolish, fools that despise wisdom. You are an instructor to those who despise wisdom, right? A teacher of babes, of new converts, those who have just received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. Now you gotta teach them Torah, because you're a guide. You establish you're approved, right? Right? You've examined, you've scrutinized, you've proven, right? You examined, you approved the Torah that is worthy of instruction. You can do this thing, right? Guide to the blind, a light to them that are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which has a form of knowledge and of the truth and of the Torah. Right? Right? The babes. Right? Which have the form of knowledge. It's the form of knowledge. Right? Right? They have a
Strong's G 3446, morphosis. Morphosis.
Right? They started to morph. Right? Their form is changing, shaping. Right? Right? A mere form, a semblance, a forming, a befitting, a thing of truly expressing a fact, the very form, right? You are a teacher, right? Which have a form of knowledge, right? And of the truth. In the Torah, you have an semblance of the truth of Torah, right? Right? In Torah, he says, thou therefore which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? So listen, as you are instructing others, as I instruct you in the Masorah and the Torah of truth, teaching myself, right? He says, thou that preachest to a man should not steal, do thou steal? So, are you teaching and instructing and obeying, or are you the opposite having provided instruction and teaching, right, but aren't doing what you are telling other people to do. You have the Torah. You have what is right. You're teaching men what to do. And because you have a grasp on the Torah requirements. But are you living Torah yourself? Are you doing the things that you're instructing other people to do? He's talking to Rome. He's talking to Brews, because he said to Brews, he says, "Thou art called Jews, Yahudiy." See that? Obviously, there was issues with the Yahudiym, who was trying to instruct the Gentiles in the manner of the law, right? Who had already had established this witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, who actually keep the law, right? Because Paul had referred to them as having had done the law, not having been in the law. But you got these Jews that want to teach them. Want to teach them Torah. But listen, are you doing the Torah? Are you living the Torah? Are you keeping the Torah? You're preaching to them, you ain't supposed to steal. Are you stealing? He says, "Thou that sayest a man shall not commit adultery, doeth thou commit adultery?" He's talking to Jews now. He's talking to Jews who are instructed in the Torah, that are here to teach the Gentiles, right, in this witness and the Torah, because the Torah has to be taught. But are you a living example of the Torah you teach? Because that's the bottom line. Bottom line is, listen, you have to teach Torah, but are you a living example of the Torah you're teaching? Are you teaching people not to steal, and are you stealing? Are you teaching people not to commit adultery, but are you committing adultery? Are you telling people that they need to abhor idols? And do you commit sacrilege? Now, what is sacrilege? We know what an idol is. Right? What is sacrilege?
Strong's G 2416. Hierasuleo. Hierasuleo.
Right? To commit sacrifice, to rob a temple. So you're talking to religious leaders. You're talking to teachers of the Torah. He's probably talking to converted people. Right? Oh, he may even be talking to the Judaizers who are in Rome. He may be talking to people who have accepted Yahusha Mashiach that are of the Yahudiym. He said, but are you teaching people that they shouldn't abhor idols, but are you robbing the temple of Yahuwah? You got to be a doer of the word and not just a hearer only. You got to be a doer of the word. You can't teach people the word and not do the word. The wrath of Yahuwah is going to be revealed against you. To the Yahudiym first. Tribulation and anguish upon every soul of man that doeth evil. To the Yahudiym first. Romans 2:9. And also to the Gentiles. He's going to hold you accountable first. With glory and honor and peace to every man that worketh good. Brew to you first. And then to the Gentiles. You can't say one thing and do another. You can't hold somebody to a standard that you don't keep yourself. Right? Right? I can't preach this Masorah to you if I'm not living this Masorah. I mean, I can, but the end result is his judgment. Right? Because the wrath of Yahuwah is going to be revealed against me. But listen, no, I'm not, no, I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. I am going to tell you what Yahuwah says, and I am going to be partakers of what he says before I tell you. Thou sayest the man should not commit adultery. Do you commit adultery? See, and you know, in Yahusha's Masorah, it's not necessary for you to physically commit the act. If you've done it in your heart, you've committed adultery. If you've lusted after another man's wife, you've committed adultery in your heart. Right? Because your heart is evil and wicked. And your thought, your self-talk, convinced you to look at your neighbor's wife and desire her and to fornicate in your mind, establishing it in your heart. You should say this. If you've done it in your heart, you've done it already. Because it's in there. He says, listen, you that make your boast in Torah, you Hebrews, you Yah only people, Tanakh only, Torah only, you make your boast in the Torah. Through breaking the law, you dishonor Elohiym. Listen, right? Understand this, bro. If you haven't turned to Yahuwah through faith in Yahusha HaMashiach, you're dishonoring him. Right? Because you're making your boast in something that you're not qualified to make your boast in. Because you have not received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. You haven't had your sins cleansed. You haven't had a sacrifice. You make your boast in the Torah. You try to convince people that it's Torah only, it's Tanakh only, it's Yah only. You try to get people to sway to that, right? Without having the clarity of thought. Right? You've convinced yourself in your self-talk that you're right and that you're justified in Yahuwah, but you forsook the whole idea of the sacrifice that was necessary in order to return. The high priest, tabernacle, sacrifice, the holies of holies, where Yahuwah has to meet and set his approval on the sacrifice. Instructors. You consider yourself instructors of foolish, teachers of babes, which have a form of knowledge of the truth in the Torah. You have a form of knowledge and the truth in the Torah. But therefore thou teachest, verse 21 again, another teaches thou not thyself? Thou preachest a man should not steal. Do thou steal? (23) Thou that make thy boast in the Torah, through breaking the law, dishonoreth thou Elohiym? You break the Torah, you got to have a sacrifice. Got to be established. If you see the witness of Yahusha Mashiach, you can't be breaking the Torah. You got to obey Torah. You have to receive his Ruach HaKodesh. You got to have the witness. See, for the name of Elohiym is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written, for circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keepest the Torah. But if thou beest a breaker of the Torah, then circumcision is made uncircumcision. So, you got these Brews that are just constantly trying to get the Gentiles to submit to something that is not theirs. They teachers of the Torah. It's trying to get them to submit to something that is not even theirs. They blaspheme. For the name of Elohiym is blasphemed among the Gentiles, right? Through you. The name, right? For the name of Elohiym is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you. Ezekiel 36 and 23. I will sanctify my great name, which was profane, which was blasphemed among the heathen, among the Gentiles, which ye have profaned in the midst of them. Now, who is he talking about? He's talking about these Jews. Profane the name of Yahuwah. See, our people did it first because we had a Torah. Okay, let's do this. Strong's. That word profane is in the Hebrew.
Strong's H 2490. Halal.
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 Halal. To profane. To defile. To pollute. To desecrate. Right? To desecrate. Right? Now, let's look at that Romans word. He said, what's blasphemed? Blasphemed in the Greek.
Strong's G 987. Blasphemeo. Blasphemeo.
To reproachfully rail. To revile. Right? Evil speaking. Right? Blaspheme. Profaned. Amongst the heathen and amongst the Gentiles. Brews. See, the only way you're going to make this right is in the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. He says, for circumcision verily profiteth if thou keepst the law. If you keep Torah, then being a Hebrew, right? If you keep Torah, being a Hebrew, right? Then circumcision profits you. But if you circumcise and don't keep Torah, there's no benefit in being a circumcised Hebrew. The benefit is in the obedience to Torah. And It's in receiving the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, who tells you to keep the commandments and keep as he kept the Father's commandments. So the idea is that it ain't enough to be Jew, Hebrew, a teacher of the Torah, and not keep Torah. And listen, Brew, you who have waken up, before you do anything, you got to turn. You got to have a sacrifice. You got to have a high priest. You have to have a tabernacle. You have to have a high priest that can go into the holies of holies. And you got to have Yahuwah meet that high priest in that temple of the holies of holies before you even get to the point of being a teacher of the Torah. You got to receive the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. You got to accept the priesthood that is after the order of Melchizedek, because the Aaron priesthood was it failed. It was flawed. You got to understand that that system was flawed because of the consciousness of sin. See, the Gentiles, right? He says here, what was it? Where's it at? Where's it at? Continuous righteousness, tribulation, so for there is no respect of person with Elohiym, for as many as have sinned without the Torah shall also perish without the Torah, and as many as have sinned in the Torah shall be judged by the Torah. Listen, bro, you're going to be judged by the Torah. You'll be judged by the Torah. He says, listen. For not the hearers of the law are just before Elohiym, but the doers of the law are justified. Hebrew, right? For when the Gentiles, which have not the Torah, right, do by nature the things that are contained in the Torah, right, these having not the law, are a law unto themselves, right? Which shew the work of the law because of the witness of Yahusha Mashiach, making them alive, giving them a heart to keep Torah, right? Right? For the law which is written in their hearts, their conscience, bearing their witness, because you know what? They free from sin. Brew? And listen, Brew, how many of you have been circumcised who've turned to Yahuwah? How many of y'all been circumcised? Right? That was a commandment that Yahuwah gave to us to keep. But you're going to turn to Yahuwah. You ain't even circumcised. So if you're going to be true to the Torah, you got to be circumcised. And look, even if you're circumcised, right, you got to keep the Torah, right? But in order to turn to Yahuwah, right, you got to repent. In order to repent, you got to come to Yahuwah for the sacrifice. How you going to do that, bro? Bro, how you going to do that? The Gentiles have received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach and have their conscience cleared. They'll keep Torah. They ain't got to be circumcised. Because that was the covenant Yahuwah made with the nation. Jacob. The 12 tribes. Not the Gentiles. They received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach and it's established in his kingdom. Right? Heirs in his kingdom. Right? Through faith in Hamashiach's witness. And having received the Ruach HaKodesh, they're established in the witness. And you a teacher of the Torah, and you won't even keep the Torah, right? You telling people that they gotta let their idols go, but you robbing people. You robbing you robbing the people, robbing Yahuwah's house. a clue. For when the Gentiles which have not the Torah do by nature the things contained in the Torah, these having not the Torah are a law unto themselves. Having received the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh, they do what's in the Torah. The law is on the inside of them. It's written in their hearts. Because they have Yahuwah and Yahusha on the inside of them. They've received the word in Emunah. They've been baptized. They have received the blood that was atoned for. Yahusha has given them the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuwah's now, Yahusha says, if you love me, keep my commandments as if I kept the Father's commandments. They keep the Father's commandments, not even having known them because it's in their hearts. And now you want to teach them, but you want to teach them that they need to do something that's not what they need to do. And you know, the church in Jerusalem had already established that they didn't have to be circumcised. But still, you know, you got these Jews that just wanted to push their agenda. He says in the 23rd verse of that second chapter, thou make thou boast of the Torah. Yeah, we know the Torah. We know the Torah. We as people, we know the Torah. Yeah. Who gave you the right to even teach people Torah? And you ain't even turned. Verse 24, for the name of Elohiym is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you. Blaspheming. Speaking evil of it. Speaking evil of the word of Yahuwah. Commanding the people that he is quickened and made alive through Yahusha HaMashiach, commanding them that they got to follow an ordinance that was never given to them. Kadar, cut it out and go lay down. Can't do that, bro. Who gives you the right to do it? He says, for circumcision verily profit if you keep the Torah. Yeah, I'm circumcised. My parents circumcised me. Right? Circumcised my son. Right? And as long as I keep Torah, with faith in Yahusha HaMashiach's witness, it profits me. I'm Yahudah. I'm of a nation. Yahusha HaMashiach is the king. His scepter shall not depart from Yahudah. He is Shiloh, to come, peace, tranquility in his kingdom. But if thou be a breaker of the Torah, now if I don't keep Torah, if I don't walk in the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, if I don't receive his sacrifice, circumcision ain't profiting me nothing. There's no profit in circumcision. But if thou be a breaker of the Torah, then circumcision is made uncircumcision. There's no benefit in circumcision and not keeping Torah. No profit in circumcision if you don't keep Torah. And shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfills the Torah, judge thee, who by the letter of and circumcision do transgress the law. So listen, if you are saying, because you're circumcised, but yet you transgress the law, you are in violation of your circumcision. Because if you're saying that you have to do this to the letter of the Torah, then you stand in violation. It says, and shall not uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfills the law, right? Talking about the Gentiles. If the Gentiles by nature, right, fulfill the law in keeping Torah, right, right, and you judge thee, who by the letter of the law keeping circumcision, right, do transgress the law. Who's circumcised? Because circumcision has occurred in their hearts, but you just wearing it in your flesh. Oh, you wearing the flesh of being Hebrew. But see, they've been quickened and made alive in the righteousness that is established through the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. They have imunah in the rebirth. But you tore to the letter. You tanakh to the letter. You yah to the letter. And you're in violation because you have yet to return to Yahuwah through faith in Yahusha. You judged according to your letter. He said, listen. For he is not Yahudiym, which is one outwardly. You're not Yahudiym just because you're Yahudiym. You're not Yahudiym because you just woke up and now you know you the people. You're Yahudiym because you have received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach. You're the Yahudiym because you recognize that there is salvation and no other name than the name of Yah salvation, Yahusha. Right, right. You are Yahudiym. You are in the family of Yahuwah, not because Yahuwah has made a covenant of circumcision with you and your fathers alone, but because Yahuwah has made a covenant of circumcision with you because you have received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach and he's put it in your heart. He's taken out the stony heart and gave you a heart of flesh. He says, then I will sprinkle, Ezekiel 36 and 25, then I will sprinkle clean water upon you. You must be born again of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh. And ye shall be cleansed from your filthiness, and from your idols will I cleanse you. The Gentiles were cleansed from their idols. But Hebrew, are you cleansed from your idols? Are you telling them that they can't worship, they can't have idols, but you're stealing? You're trying to hold them to the letter and you are not held to that same letter? He says, a new heart also will I give you, Yahudah. And a new Ruach, a Ruach HaKodesh, will I put within you. Why? Because I cleansed you with the water. You said you must be born again of water and of the Ruach HaKodesh, right? My spirit within you, and I will take away your stony heart, right? Take away the stony heart, right? Take away the stony heart. Take away the stony heart. He's comparing this to what has occurred in the Gentiles and what yet hasn't occurred in some of the Yahudiy. He says, but he is Yahudiym, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is of the heart. Right? Circumcised the heart. He's gotta give you a new heart. Also will I give you. Ezekiel 36:26. And a new Ruach HaKodesh I will put in you, within you. And I will take away the foreskin of the old stony heart, right, out of your flesh, and I will give you a new heart. Heart flesh. I will put my Ruach HaKodesh within you and cause you to walk or to cause you to keep my Torah, my statutes, and my judgments to do them. For he is not a Yahudiym, which is one outwardly, who has a heart of stone, who has not received the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. See, you ain't Yahudiym. You are not the nation. You have to have received the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, and only then are you a part of the kingdom. Part of the nation. You gotta receive the witness. For he is not a Yahudiym, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward. Yahudiym. Brews. It ain't enough to receive. It's not enough to know that you're Hebrews. It's not enough to know that you are the regal royal house of Yisrael, Yahuda. You have to receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. That's going to establish you in the witness. You got to receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. You have to receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. You have to receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. You have to receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. You have to receive the witness. Got to receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. Got to receive the witness. Got to receive the witness. Because it's neither circumcision which is outward. See, the only way to get your heart circumcised is through the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach, and the Gentiles recognized that, and they received it graciously. See, the Ruach HaKodesh, Yahusha, and Yahuwah on the inside of them to change their heart. He says, but he is Yahudiym, right? Which is one inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart. See, the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach is going to make you love your brother. It's going to make you love your sister. It's going to have you receive the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach, the blood of the King. It's going to have you receive the witness of the order of Melchizedek. In Nimunah, it's going to establish. It's going to have your heart fixed. And circumcision is that of the heart. In the Ruach HaKodesh. Not in the letter. See, It's in the Ruach HaKodesh, because the Ruach HaKodesh is the must-have. Yahusha said you have to be born of the water and the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Even here, it's in the Ruach HaKodesh. It's not in the letter. See, because the letter is righteous. But the righteous letter is only for a righteous. The letter was designed to establish the standard of conduct, right? Having received the witness gives you the capacity to keep the letter. You can't be established in the letter without being established in the Ruach HaKodesh. The Ruach HaKodesh gives you the capacity to keep the letter. But the Ruach HaKodesh understands the letter is for us, right? We are to keep and obey Yahusha's and Yahuwah's commandments. The Gentiles weren't given circumcision. They just needed the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach. Yeah, they needed to recognize Yahuwah Lua as El, as the Yahuwah Alua as their Alua, not these idols and these Els. They needed to turn from their idolatry. They needed to turn from their vile affections. They needed to turn from these wicked things. They needed to turn from them, right? But having turned from them, they've been established in the witness. Shaul said it. They've been established. Their hearts testify to this, right? Their hearts testify to that, to this. Yahuwah, he says, for when the Gentiles which have not the Torah do by nature the things contained in the Torah, right? These having not received the Torah, right, are a Torah unto themselves. The witness of Yahusha Mashiach. Circumcision of their hearts, right? Receiving the word and the Torah of Yahuwah, causing them to be established continually and to the end enduring. Allah unto themselves. He says, which shew the works of the Torah written in their hearts. Torah in their hearts. Where's that in you, bro? It ain't in your heart. Because if you haven't turned to Yahuwah, your heart is desperately wicked. If you haven't turned to Yahuwah through faith in Yahusha, your heart is desperately wicked. They're conscious bearing their witness, see, because you know they don't have that consciousness of sin. They don't have sin consciousness. Right? They ain't walking around constantly worried about breaking Torah. Because that consciousness has been removed from them. They keep Yahuwah's Torah. It's in their heart. Yes, they have to meditate on the truth of what they understand in Yahushua Mashiach. Yes, they got to understand the value of the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. Yes, they got to pray in the Ruach, and then they got to pray with their understanding. They got to sing in the Ruach, sing with their understanding. They got to fast and pray just like Yahudiy do. But listen, they are established in righteousness. And Brews, you got Brews, just like, you always want to give your heritage to somebody else. I ain't gave my heritage to nobody. I'm a Hebrew. I'm of the tribe of Yahudiy. I'm circumcised the 8th day. Listen, I'm Yahudah. I know where I am. I know where my ancestry is. I know where my DNA is. I know where my people at. Yahudim, but you know what? I'm Yahudim because I've received the witness of Yahushua Mashiach. I'm established in His kingdom. Because see, to me, it ain't it's not enough just to be awakened. You got to be quickened. Jew first, then the Gentile. He is a Yahudiy, which is one inwardly, having received the witness of Yahusha Mashiach, the circumcision of the heart, which Yahuwah said he would give you a new heart, and he would replace the stony heart, and give you a new heart of flesh. And Ruach HaKodesh, the Ruach HaKodesh, he's going to put in you to cause you to keep his Torah. That's why they were able to do it. It's Gentiles. Ezekiel 36:27. I'll put my Ruach HaKodesh within you, and it will cause you to walk in my Torah and keep my judgments and do them. Why? Because a new heart will I give you, and a new Ruach will I put within you. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. Yahuwah. He's did this for us. But he did it for the Gentiles as well. Because Yahudiym is not a Yahudiym who is just awakened. You know he Hebrew, and now he going to start keeping the Torah. No. You got to turn. You got to turn. And when you turn to Yahushua Mashiach, he's going to give you a new heart. He's going to take out that sin consciousness. He's going to give you his Ruach HaKodesh. And that Ruach HaKodesh is going to empower you. It's going to cause you to be a witness. It's going to make you alive, seat you in heavenly places in Yahushua Mashiach. He says, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men. Right? The letter of Allah strokes men, pats men on the back. The law, letter. Oh, I keep the letter of the law. Ooh, look at me. Yeah, wash, a ceremony wash. Pat myself on the back. Because that's what the letter does. See, the Ruach and the witness gives all praise to Yahuwah Alua and his son Yahushua Mashiach, who's made this Yeshua available through Emunah, having believed in the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood. His praise is not in the letter, but of Yahuwah. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, Romans the 2nd chapter, verse to the 29th verse. Understand, Yahuwah is not a respecter of person. And Shaul was correcting Yahudiym for their arrogance. For their judging people by the letter and not fulfilling, doing, keeping toward themselves. Better understand, this witness of Yahushua Mashiach is the greatest thing that has ever happened to us as a nation. The witness of Yahushua Mashiach is the greatest thing that has ever happened to us as a nation, as a people of Yahuwah. You better recognize. Yahuwah, I pray in the name of Yahushua Mashiach that the words that you have given me to give to them, that they would receive them and that they would keep them and that they would be established in them. Yahuwah, I recognize this Basura, this Torah is not to everybody, but to those who you have chosen to receive it. I pray that it would strengthen them in Emunah. It would cause them to know the truth. And in this truth, they would be made free. I pray that they who need the Ruach HaKodesh would receive the witness of the Ruach HaKodesh, the water and the blood. They would receive the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuwah, I pray that they would be strengthened by power and by might in their inner man in the Ruach HaKodesh. Yahuwah, I pray that the word would reveal to them the purpose and plan and the intent that you have in Yahusha for them. Yahuwah, I pray that you would continue by your Ruach HaKodesh to use me as a vessel, as a mouthpiece, as a preacher of the truth. Yahuwah, I am called to deliver a word of truth, but I stand in judgment of the word that I deliver. Yahuwah, I am accountable to you and to these people that you have given me to walk circumspectly and to be a witness to this Torah, to allow what I say to them to be said to me. Yahuwah, I receive your word. In Emunah, every word I receive it. In Emunah, I receive it. Yahuwah, let the word of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuwah, my strength and my redeemer. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, that's it for the day. Again, we moving into Romans. We going to make our way through Romans. We're in Romans, the third chapter. Starting tomorrow. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, recognize the witness of Yahusha Mashiach is everything. It's not enough to be caught up in the Torah and the letter. It's everything to receive the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach and the Ruach HaKodesh of truth. And the Ruach HaKodesh of truth will establish a new heart, a heart that will keep Torah, right? You will keep Yahuwah's laws, statutes, commandments, and judgments, and do them. Man of Yah, called the greatness, woman of Yahuwah, called the greatness, man of Yahuwah, woman of Yahuwah, beautifully and wonderfully made. Today Yahuwah has favored you. Go forth in that favor. Listen, be led by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahuwah. And keep his commandments and obey his word. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. With that I say shalom, shalom, shalom. Be blessed. Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.